Most Toyota hybrid owners hit 100,000 miles and wonder why their fuel economy has dropped, why their battery warning light just came on, and why they are suddenly staring at a repair estimate that starts at $4,000. The answer almost always traces back to the same handful of missed steps that Toyota never clearly explained, but that every hybrid owner needs to know before that milestone hits. The hybrid battery in your Toyota Prius, Camry Hybrid, RAV4 Hybrid, or Highlander Hybrid is not just an accessory. It is the backbone of the entire drivetrain. And unlike a standard 12-volt battery, it does not just die overnight. It degrades quietly, cell by cell, over years of small mistakes that compound into one very large bill. So here is exactly what you need to do before 100,000 miles to protect that battery and the hybrid system around it. Step 1. Inspect the high-voltage hybrid battery cooling vents before they clog. The high-voltage hybrid battery in most Toyota models is an air-cooled system. That means it relies on a dedicated intake vent, usually located at the base of the rear seat on the driver's side or inside the rear cargo area, depending on your model, to pull cabin air across the battery cells and keep temperatures stable. Toyota designed this system to run continuously and silently. Most owners never know it exists. When that vent becomes restricted, temperatures inside the battery pack rise. Toyota's battery management system can handle moderate heat, but sustained high temperatures destroy individual cells unevenly. Once cells begin failing at different rates, the entire pack becomes unbalanced, and Toyota's hybrid control module compensates by reducing charge and discharge depth, which is exactly what destroys long-term capacity. Before 100,000 miles, inspect that intake vent carefully. Remove the vent cover and check for dust buildup, pet hair, debris, and fabric fibers from cargo items stored nearby. A partially blocked vent can raise internal battery temperatures by 15 to 20 degrees Fahrenheit during normal driving. That sustained heat is one of the leading causes of premature hybrid battery failure on high-mileage Toyotas. Clean the vent and the surrounding area thoroughly. This single step takes less than 10 minutes and costs nothing. Step 2. Replace the hybrid battery cooling fan before it weakens. Behind the intake vent sits a dedicated cooling fan that actively pulls air across the battery module. This fan runs independently of the main cabin blower motor. It operates on its own circuit and its own speed control. And just like any mechanical component, it weakens with age. A failing hybrid battery cooling fan doesn't always announce itself with noise. In many cases, it simply slows down. The system still appears functional, air still moves, but at a fraction of the designed flow rate. The battery management system does not detect low fan speed directly. It only detects battery temperature after the damage has already begun. Toyota service data consistently identifies degraded hybrid cooling fans as a contributing factor in high-mileage battery failures, particularly in the Toyota Prius and Toyota Camry Hybrid, where the fan is located beneath rear seat panels or inside the trunk area. Before 100,000 miles, have the hybrid battery cooling fan inspected and tested for proper airflow and amperage draw. If your Toyota has been in service for 7 or more years, proactive replacement is strongly worth considering. A replacement fan typically costs between $80 and $150 in parts alone, which is a fraction of what a full battery replacement demands. Step 3. Clean the hybrid battery cooling fan filter if your model has one. Some Toyota hybrid models, like the Prius, include a small foam filter element positioned at the battery intake vent. This filter traps airborne particles before they reach the cooling fan blades and the battery cells themselves. Toyota recommends periodic cleaning of this filter, but mentions it so briefly in the owner's manual that the vast majority of owners never act on it. A clogged foam filter does not just reduce AIR flow. It creates a pressure differential that forces the cooling fan motor to work harder to pull the same volume of air. That added load shortens the fan motor's lifespan and reduces the net cooling effect inside the battery cavity. Over time, both the filter and the fan suffer simultaneously from the neglect of one inexpensive maintenance step. Before 100,000 miles, locate this filter element, remove it, and wash it gently with warm water. Allow it to dry completely before reinstalling. If the foam has deteriorated, torn, or lost its structural integrity, replace it. On most Toyota hybrids, the part costs less than $20. That foam filter is quietly defending a battery pack worth several $1,000s. Step 4. Monitor and address the 12-volt auxiliary battery before it stresses the hybrid system. Toyota hybrids carry two batteries, the high-voltage hybrid battery that most people know about, and a conventional 12-volt auxiliary battery that powers the vehicle's standard electrical systems. What most owners don't realize is how these two systems interact at a fundamental level. When the 12-volt auxiliary battery weakens, the hybrid control module detects voltage instability and compensates by drawing additional support from the high-voltage battery through the DC to DC converter. That converter is constantly stepping down high-voltage power to maintain the 12-volt system. When the auxiliary battery deteriorates, this converter works harder. The hybrid battery discharges more frequently to compensate, and the overall charge cycling rate of the main battery pack increases. Toyota hybrid 12-volt batteries typically last 4 to 6 years, at or before 100,000 miles, regardless of how the battery appears to be performing. Have it load tested by a qualified shop. A weakened auxiliary battery that reads acceptable voltage at rest can fail dramatically under load, and the hybrid system will absorb that stress silently before any warning light appears. Replacing a 12-volt auxiliary battery on a Toyota hybrid costs between $100 and $200. Allowing it to fail and stress the high-voltage system costs considerably more. Step 5. Check the hybrid battery. State of charge patterns using a scan tool. Toyota hybrid batteries do not fail uniformly. Inside the battery pack are individual modules, and each module contains individual cells. When one module begins degrading faster than the others, the hybrid control module compensates by limiting the overall state of charge range to prevent that weak module from being pushed into an unstable zone. The result is a noticeable reduction in fuel economy and electric driving range before any warning light appears on the dashboard. Before 100,000 miles, have the hybrid battery system scanned with a professional-grade diagnostic tool that can read individual module voltages, not just overall battery health. Toyota high-voltage battery health data is accessible through OBD2-based scanners that support Toyota-specific hybrid data. A healthy battery pack shows consistent voltage levels across all modules within a tight tolerance. A pack beginning to fail shows one or more modules reading significantly higher or lower than the group average. Identifying a single weak module early opens the door to individual module replacement, which costs a fraction of full pack replacement and can restore battery performance close to original specification. Catching this data before 100,000 miles gives you options. Waiting until the warning light arrives removes them. Step 6. Avoid sustained high-speed highway driving without allowing hybrid system recovery cycles. Toyota hybrid battery systems are designed around a specific charge and discharge pattern. During city driving, the battery charges during braking through the regenerative braking system and discharges during acceleration when the electric motor assists the gasoline engine. This cycling pattern is what the battery chemistry is built around. Sustained high-speed highway driving changes that dynamic. At highway speeds, regenerative braking contributes minimally because the vehicle rarely decelerates sharply. The gasoline engine carries most of the load directly. The battery still experiences a temperature rise from the power electronics, and it receives very little regenerative charge to offset that heat-producing activity. On long highway trips, particularly in warm weather, the hybrid battery can remain at elevated temperatures for extended periods without the cooling benefit of the regenerative cycling pattern it was designed for. If you regularly drive long highway distances, be deliberate about monitoring cabin temperature and ensuring the vehicle's climate system is not pulling air from the battery intake area. Give the vehicle adequate rest stops on extended trips. After long highway drives, allow the car to sit with the system in ready mode for several minutes before shutting down fully. This allows the cooling fan to continue running through its post-drive cycle. Step 7. Address any hybrid system. Warning codes immediately, even minor ones. Toyota's hybrid system generates fault codes at multiple severity levels. There are codes that trigger the master warning light, and there are codes that store silently in the hybrid control module without triggering any visible dash indicator. These silent codes are not harmless. They represent the hybrid system detecting conditions outside its normal operating parameters and logging those events for diagnostic purposes. Before and around 100,000 miles, have the hybrid system professionally scanned for stored codes across all Toyota control modules, including the hybrid vehicle ECU, the hybrid battery ECU, the inverter, and the motor generator control modules. Silent codes related to battery temperature, module imbalance, inverter cooling, or regenerative braking efficiency are early indicators of developing problems that can be addressed before they become expensive failures. Toyota dealers and independent shops with Toyota-specific diagnostic equipment can pull this full code library. A clean scan with no stored codes is excellent news. A scan that reveals a pattern of intermittent hybrid battery temperature warnings or module voltage flags gives you precise, actionable information before the repair cost escalates significantly. Step 8. Inspect the inverter coolant system and replace the inverter coolant on schedule. Toyota hybrid systems use a separate liquid cooling circuit specifically for the power inverter and motor generators. This inverter cooling system is completely independent of the engine coolant circuit. It uses its own reservoir, its own pump, and its own coolant fluid designed for high-voltage electrical components. This inverter coolant degrades over time. Toyota's maintenance schedule recommends inverter coolant replacement at specific intervals, but this service is so frequently overlooked that many high-mileage Toyota hybrids arrive at shops with inverter coolant that has never been changed. Degraded inverter coolant loses its dielectric properties and its heat transfer efficiency at the same time, which means the inverter runs hotter than designed and the electrical insulation protection of the coolant diminishes. Before 100,000 miles, confirm that the inverter coolant has been changed according to Toyota's maintenance schedule for your specific model year. The inverter coolant reservoir on most Toyota hybrids is a smaller, separate reservoir typically located near the front of the engine bay, distinct from the standard engine coolant reservoir. The service itself is inexpensive relative to what inverter failure costs. An inverter replacement on a Toyota hybrid can easily exceed $2,000 in parts alone. Step 9. Protect the hybrid system from extreme heat by managing cabin and battery temperatures actively. Heat is the single greatest long-term threat to Toyota hybrid battery longevity. Toyota's battery management system does an excellent job of protecting the pack under normal conditions, but in extreme ambient heat, the system is fighting against physics. A Toyota hybrid parked in direct sunlight in a hot climate will accumulate internal temperatures that stress the battery pack even before the vehicle is started. Before and after 100,000 miles, develop the habit of parking in shade whenever available. If indoor or covered parking is accessible, use it consistently. On extremely hot days, allow the vehicle to run its climate system briefly before driving aggressively to give the battery cooling fan time to begin stabilizing battery temperatures. Avoid leaving the vehicle parked in direct sun for extended periods with windows fully closed in high heat climates. The interior cabin air that feeds the battery cooling system comes directly from inside the car. A cabin that reaches 150 degrees Fahrenheit on a summer afternoon is feeding that battery cooling fan with air that cannot adequately protect the cells inside that pack. These are not dramatic changes. They are consistent small habits that, accumulated over years, represent the difference between a hybrid battery that reaches and exceeds 100,000 miles in strong health and one that presents its owner with a $4,000 estimate on the way home from work. Step 10. Service the hybrid system with a Toyota specialized technician, not a general shop. This final step is perhaps the most overlooked. Toyota hybrid systems contain multiple interconnected subsystems that require specific knowledge and equipment to service correctly. A general service shop that handles conventional vehicles comfortably may lack the diagnostic software, the technical training, and the Toyota-specific service procedures to properly evaluate hybrid system health. Before 100,000 miles, establish a relationship with either a Toyota dealer service department or an independent shop that has invested specifically in Toyota hybrid diagnostic equipment and technician training. Have the full hybrid system inspected comprehensively, not just the standard service items. Ask specifically about hybrid battery module balance, inverter coolant condition, cooling fan operation, and stored hybrid fault codes. The Toyota hybrid drivetrain, when properly maintained, is capable of lasting well beyond 200,000 miles. Those examples are documented and well known. But that longevity is not automatic. It is earned by owners who understand the system they are driving and take deliberate action before problems develop into failures. Everything covered in this video costs a fraction of what a neglected hybrid battery costs to replace. Do these things before 100,000 miles, and your Toyota hybrid will reward you for it. If you're enjoying this video, consider watching the next one. I'm breaking down the exact maintenance schedule that keeps Toyota hybrids running past 200,000 miles.